Hi everyone, I'm attorney Aiden Durham with 180 Law Co. in Colorado, and you are watching All Up in Your Business. In this episode of All Up in Your Business, I'm going to tell you guys about what it means to have a strong trademark and why the strength of your trademark has such a major impact on your overall brand and brand strategy. But first, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and check the description for links to some additional information and resources. Okay, now let's talk about branding and how to create a strong trademark. First, what does it even mean to have a strong trademark? When we're talking trademark strength, there's a hierarchy of 5 different categories of trademarks. The first, the weakest, is generic. Then we have descriptive, then suggestive, then arbitrary, and finally fanciful. Generic trademarks are marks that are just the generic, commonly used word or phrase for the goods or services that are being sold. For example, chips would be a generic trademark if you were selling potato chips, or apple if you're selling apples. Generic trademarks are the weakest and aren't really even considered trademarks at all. No trademark rights apply to generic trademarks because they're just words. Descriptive trademarks describe some element of the goods or services themselves. For example, cold and creamy would be descriptive if it was used with the sale of ice cream, because ice cream is cold and creamy. And words that merely describe an attribute, feature, end result, or use of the goods or services generally aren't going to qualify for trademark protection. Descriptive trademarks can later become protectable as trademarks if they acquire secondary meaning. And secondary meanings usually arise when the mark has been used in commerce for a significant amount of time. We see this in some very well-known trademarks. American Airlines, for example, is merely descriptive. It describes the service providing flights in America. Or IBM, which I guess initially it stood for International Business Machines, which is descriptive of a company which sells business machines internationally. But through continuous use of the marks and establishing themselves as recognizable brands in their respective industries, they have acquired secondary meaning and are no longer considered merely descriptive. Suggestive trademarks suggest a quality or characteristic of the goods or services. This is pretty similar to descriptive marks, except that instead of describing the quality or characteristic, it's suggesting it. Microsoft, for example, is suggestive of software for microcomputers. Another example is the trademark for igloo for coolers. If we were actually selling igloos, then it would be descriptive. But with coolers, it's just suggestive. Of the strong trademarks, suggestive ones are like the weakest, but they're still immensely better and stronger than generic or merely descriptive marks. Suggestive trademarks qualify for trademark protection because they are inherently distinctive, unlike generic or descriptive marks. Arbitrary marks now. Arbitrary is when we really start getting into the world of strong trademarks. Arbitrary marks have an ordinary meaning, but that meaning is not related to the goods or services that are being sold. A very well-known arbitrary mark is Apple for computers. Apple is just a normal word with a normal ordinary meaning. But in this context, it's arbitrary because the actual word Apple has nothing to do with computers. Another example would be Amazon for online retailers. Again, just a plain normal word, but it's applied to something completely unrelated. Finally, the strongest of all the marks are those which are fanciful. Fanciful marks are brand new words that have no previous meaning, really. Basically, you're creating a new word. Examples of popular fanciful trademarks are like Kodak, Nike, Exxon. These words really had no meaning before they were developed by these brands, and they were developed to be trademarks. So when we begin talking about trademarks and branding, specifically when we're developing a new brand name or a new company name, a common challenge often arises. So from the trademark perspective, arbitrary or fanciful marks will typically be the easiest to register, and they'll receive the broadest and strongest form of trademark protection. It's also best in terms of long-term brand recognition, but it's typically going to take a lot more effort in terms of marketing and brand recognition in the beginning, because you'll have to educate consumers, since at first glance, a lot of them may not immediately know what the product or service is. And so that's kind of where the battle commonly lies. Marketing and branding professionals usually want to lean more towards descriptive names, because you want consumers to know what you're selling. It's easier to market your products and services when you don't have to explain what they are. But trademark professionals, on the other hand, encourage the exact opposite. The less descriptive, the better. So I like to suggest settling somewhere in the middle, suggestive or better. Or if you have to use descriptive words in your mark, then use them along with an arbitrary or fanciful word. That way you can still register it all without losing your strength to that merely descriptiveness. Sure, it's going to take more time, effort, and creativity to come up with a mark that's on the stronger end of the spectrum, but it's typically going to be worth it, because a stronger mark carries with it substantially stronger trademark protection, which in turn increases the overall value of your brand, and really it better protects the investment that you've made into your brand. That's all for this episode, folks. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. And don't forget to check the description for links to additional information and resources. You can download my free guide, my 3 tips to trademarking your brand. And you can find the link to register for the creative and free online business workshop in the description as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Aiden Durham, and I'll see you next time.